From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, the Jewish community is reacting to the mass shooting in Australia during a Hanukkah celebration. We'll have a live report up next.
Plus, a statewide warning on foraging for mushrooms. How to spot poisonous mushrooms that have been popping up in the Bay Area.
And the skies have somewhat cleared, but rain's on the way eventually. Meteorologist Aaron Peck will have that forecast coming up. We're live at the CBS studios here in San Francisco. I'm Brian Hackney.
And I'm Andrea Nakano. Gun violence now rocking the other side of the globe in Sydney, Australia, just a day after 2 people were killed at a shooting at Brown University in Rhode Island. At least 15 people were killed and dozens others hospitalized during a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach. It's one of Sydney's popular beaches. Police think that a father-son duo are responsible for the attack. Phone video captured the moments that beachgoers scattered as gunfire rang out for 5 uninterrupted minutes. One attacker was seen being tackled by a bystander, grabbing his gun and turning it on him. The 50-year-old father was later shot and killed by police. His son, identified as a Pakistani national, Naveed Akram, was hospitalized. One restaurant worker describes what went through his mind when he heard the shots.
I knew it was gunshots immediately, but I didn't really register it. So I just sort of saw them all the way over there, just people start running, and I'm going, well, maybe it's like a one-time shooting, not like it's not America, like not a massacre event. But turns out it was, and the whole shop just like stood up, and we all just ran into the back exit, and everyone was pushing everyone. There was no like semblance, and we just ran in through.
This is Australia's deadliest mass shooting in nearly 3 decades. The news is sending shockwaves through the Jewish community around the world. It's also cast a shadow, as you can imagine, over Hanukkah celebrations here in the Bay Area.
One of the largest celebrations is taking place in San Francisco's Union Square, where they are gathering to light the menorah on the first night of Hanukkah.
Dalian is live in the square. How's it looking so far, Da?
Yeah, Brian, Andrea, a lot of folks are celebrating with heavy hearts. In fact, the rabbi who organized the celebration lost a close friend in that mass shooting. There are a lot of police officers all throughout Union Square. They're dotted all throughout this area. They want to make sure this event is safe and that people also feel safe. Mayor Daniel Laurie and his father, Rabbi Brian Laurie, were here to join in the lighting ceremony. In fact, the menorah was lit about 10 minutes ago at 5:50. This is the 50th year that folks are celebrating Hanukkah in Union Square.
For the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, there'll be no more wars.
Hanukkah symbolizes freedom and the triumph of light over darkness. At Hanukkah celebrations across the Bay Area, including this one in Piedmont, that joy and light felt a little dimmer in the wake of the mass shooting.
Many Jews in America and Israel this morning, the first thing they did was call family in Australia. Because we are one big family, and it really does hurt.
Alan Edelstein cheered on his granddaughters as they sang at the Piedmont Hanukkah celebration. He says he worries about the world his grandkids are growing up in.
I see, thankfully, we have the police here, but do other communities, other religious groups, other ethnic groups, when they get together, have to have police guards? But sadly, Jews in America need to have that now. Jews all over the world need to have that now.
Their local rabbi, Mark Bloom, once served as a rabbi in Sydney in the late 90s and says he is still connected to the Jewish community there.
Despite the darkness, let us see the light and let us have a happy Hanukkah no matter what.
Rabbi Moshe Langer of Chabad of San Francisco, who organized the Union Square celebration, also lost a dear friend and classmate.
Our hearts are heavy right now. My dear friend, Rabbi Eli Schlanger, was gunned down in cold blood at a Hanukkah event in Sydney. We're just heartbroken, you know.
But he says they must not let darkness win or live in fear. Instead, he says they must stand up against hate.
The people that murdered him, they were trying to snuff that out. They were trying to wipe that out, wipe the joy of our tradition out.
Love has to win out over hate. It's almost as simple as that. But coinciding with that, and this is very much Hanukkah, light always has to overtake darkness.
Alan and his son Jason say in times of grief, the only solution is unity.
We do not want to feel isolated or alone. We want our fellow community members to be with us in community.
Other communities would join us, non-Jews, would join us in standing up for light and for freedom and for peace and against the hate we see.
The overwhelming message tonight, love trumps hate, and so far it's been a very peaceful event. A lot of folks say the mass shooting did not scare them away. If anything, it inspired them to come out here to join in the celebration, to celebrate their heritage and tradition. Live here at Union Square, I'll send it back to you guys.
Alrighty, Daw, thanks much.
Well, in a statement, the Jewish Community Relations Council is calling on the nation's leaders to stop the normalization of anti-Semitic rhetoric. They say the rise in anti-Semitism is leading to Jews feeling less safe in public.
Back in the Bay Area, one earthquake after another shook up wine country late today. 3 quakes hit one right after the other, all magnitude 4 and under, within the space of about 30 minutes. It's just the latest in a series of quake swarms that have kept things rattling in the Bay Area, and Darren's here to document that and the forecast. Darren?
Yeah, Brian, it was just about 7 minutes after that 4.0 happened, there was a 3.1, and then shortly, about 25 minutes after that, there was a 3.4. It's another small swarm, which is what makes this interesting. First of all, let me show you where this was felt, primarily here in the North Bay where it was centered. This was just one valley over from where Monarch Park is. And if we look at the Did You Feel It map, there actually is a little bit of yellow on here. We do not often see that for some of these smaller earthquakes. That's telling you this was reported, and the USGS has verified that was reported as somewhat stronger shaking there, just south of Monarch Park. But that's the only place. If you look down at the city, you can see people felt it in the city as well. But it was really weak. What's really interesting about this is 3 in a row. This is another small swarm in a place where we had an earthquake swarm at the start of the month. We were talking about it in the news. By the way, here's where we are again. Santa Rosa, Rohnert Park, Sonoma, and Napa are over here. This is where the swarm happened today. The red circles show you today's earthquakes. The yellow ones show you the earthquakes that happened around December 1st. This was in the news back then. And if you're thinking, weren't we just talking about a swarm of earthquakes? I didn't think it was North Bay. I thought it was over towards San Ramon. Well, you're right. That's another swarm that has happened recently. In fact, there was another one today. It's about a 2.9 that happened there today. Every seismologist will tell you this is nothing to be overly concerned about. This does not mean anything. It does not mean a likely stronger earthquake is coming. It means the odds of a significant in the earthquake right now are exactly what they were last week, which are pretty significant. We should all be prepared for it, but this doesn't change that or tell us really anything, fortunately, one way or the other. All right, I'll be back with the forecast in a bit. We'll see our rain on Wednesday. For now, guys, back to you.
Alrighty, thank you, Darren. The Bay Area's recent cold, damp weather has sparked a boom in wild mushrooms and the number of people who are foraging for them.
But California health officials warn many of these mushrooms are deadly. So far, more than 20 people have been hospitalized. Officials have seen a significant cluster of cases from Monterey to the Bay Area.
And John Ramos has that story.
California is having a bumper crop of mushrooms this year, including this one, Amanita phalloides, the death cap mushroom. It can be fatal if eaten, and while it may look like an edible variety, it takes an expert to identify it.
Mushrooms have no boundaries, and so they will grow wherever conditions are favorable for them to grow.
Brennan Wank Riley and J.R. Blair are experts in mycology, the science of mushrooms. On this day, they were seeking out the dangerous kind, and they didn't have to go far, just a block from Brennan's Larkspur home.
So this is Amanita phalloides right here, and one thing to note is that it is perfectly safe to touch and smell. It's just ingesting them. That's where the toxins can get into your cells and wreak havoc. I think Amanita phalloides, if I'm not incorrect, is responsible for more deaths than any other mushroom.
It's prompted a warning from the California Department of Health, strongly discouraging the public from foraging for mushrooms. That's because there is a huge number of the death caps showing up this year. And experts say they're not even sure why it's happening.
We don't have a good grasp of exactly what produces such a bumper crop. And then other years have a similar kind of rainfall pattern, and then we don't have very many at all. So this year, for whatever reason, we have a lot of them.
When eaten, the death caps can disrupt cellular activity, causing liver failure. So far this year, the state says 21 people have sought medical help, with 1 dying and 2 others possibly needing liver transplants. It's renewing the only real advice that mushroom hunters should heed. Don't eat anything unless you're sure what it is. And that requires identification by an expert.
And so if you're not 100%, then you think this, oh, well, this is an edible, and you take it home, you throw it in your soup, you're going to be in the hospital in a couple days and maybe dead in a couple weeks if you make that mistake. So you need to be absolutely sure.
Carrie Stoller doesn't disagree with that, but she's concerned about not overreacting. As the founder of a wild foods education group called Fork in the Path, she organizes expert-led mushroom hunting trips in Northern California. One of them was occurring on this very day.
There are absolutely ways to learn how to do it safely. It's a lot of fun. It's accessible. And once you learn how to stay away from the deadly toxic species and get familiar with, say, one species at a time, you can very easily safely forage and eat wild mushrooms.
But after the pandemic, there has been a big surge in people interested in foraging for mushrooms, and not everyone seeks knowledgeable help.
This is death cap.
And even the experts aren't always sure.
I'm pretty sure these are both death cap, but this has some characteristics of an edible species. The color.
That could easily fool somebody.
It could fool somebody.
Eating any food in the wild can be dangerous to the uninformed. And when it comes to mushrooms, it only takes one mistake to cause a big problem.
I'll forage for mine at Safeway. Coming up, the mystery of the missing monarchs, as yet another migration is underway with dramatically low counts. That story when we come back. And welcome back. This is the time of the year when we welcome back monarchs who have flocked by the hundreds of thousands to the West Coast from their summer homes in the Sierra. But that is not happening this year, not even at the most popular spot on the West Coast. It's another busy day at Natural Bridges State Beach in Santa Cruz, especially for the rangers.
My name is Martha Nitzberg. I'm an interpretive ranger, which means I tell the stories about the park and talk to the people.
Can you see? Can you see?
The people come from around the world to witness the annual return of the monarchs.
Look at how beautiful they are. The very outer branch right here.
The butterflies return here in greater numbers than anywhere else in California.
It's wonderful. People are coming to enjoy nature. We have all kinds of songs that we've made up, Back home where they know you are kings, but they treat you like family. Thanks to the folks who keep the grove safe. Back home. So anyway, we have all kinds of funny, silly things we do.
It's one of the reasons people return in droves to Natural Bridges. But so far, the butterflies haven't. And this time of year is the peak of the monarch butterfly count.
Yeah, this is the time when we've historically done a count since the middle of the 90s. And every year we go to all the different sites that we possibly can as volunteers to count the butterflies.
It's done with binoculars. Yeah. If you look at that cluster that's right up there above your head where there's that butterfly, there's a couple of them flying around acting stupid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Monarchs are counted at about 250 overwintering sites in California, and Natural Bridges here in Santa Cruz is one of them. The count so far is about 2,000 monarchs, which is on pace with where they were last year. But last year was described as
terrible. Okay.
One example, the Pismo Beach Sanctuary numbers collapsed from more than 200,000 in 1990 to just 197 monarchs at this time last year. And in fact,
we've been as low as 2020 when the count in this sanctuary for the entire year was 0.
So far, not much better this year. But it may be that all the butterflies aren't yet butterflies.
I did have some people come today from the Bay Area, and they said, we're still seeing caterpillars in our yards. And so we might see some more coming.
Oh, nice.
Hope springs eternal. It's one of the reasons Martha says some folks are mesmerized by the Monarch.
It's transformation. And so a lot of people who've had troubles in their lives of different types and sorts of troubles, they take the butterfly as a symbol of hope and transformation, that they too can change their lives.
It's a pleasant little thought. There is still more data to gather this year, though. The late season count begins 2 days after Christmas. It'll run through January 11th. You can actually sign up to volunteer to count them on the Western Monarch Count website. It's not rain slowing them down, Darren.
No, it's not. And hopefully we got to get them some help somehow. All right, let's take a look at what's coming our way. A little bit of the marine layer and a little bit of Thule fog. We did this today. If you notice these kinds of things, it was a bit more gray today than it had been over the past couple of weeks of this. And that's because we got sandwiched. There was clouds that came in from the coast, the old-fashioned coastal marine layer, and the Thule fog was on overdrive. They're both going to do it again tomorrow. So what you're seeing on here now, this is the last 2 hours of high-resolution satellite. You never really cleared much in the Santa Clara Valley today. It's weird. Normally you do. But today, that's actually the leftover batch that never left. And that's already showing signs of rebuilding. Go to the south there. Look what that's doing as you go down 101 and work your way down through that southern edge of the Santa Clara Valley. See what it's creeping along there? So this is how you know it's that time of night. Let's come back out to the wide view now. This stuff is starting to rebuild, and that is going to take over pretty much the entire bay and then some. Let's take a look at how we'll feel as a result of this. Morning lows, just like today. It's really no difference here. It's going to look and feel almost identical. So if that's your morning, let me just show you where we'll be for the daytime highs tomorrow. Very similar to today. And you will get sunshine once we get into the later mornings and the early afternoon. We look out into the Pacific, and boy, it's starting to look better now, because what we're starting to see out here is a better depiction of the storm track getting better oriented and its ability to actually get here with rain. When we were looking at this last week, I mean, there was a long stretch of clouds that had to go almost like directly north and then curve around. It's not doing that now. Take a look at what you have. You can see the clouds are starting to arc back our way. That's the Thule fog down there, by the way. It's just so incredible that it's such a broad expanse. You can see it from space. And there's the storm track. We'll put some rain in it. So there is some rain coming. Wednesday. That's the leading edge of it right here. We'll see a few showers will show up for us. Here's our timestamp. Let's pause it there, but let's get a closer look at it. You're trying to see how it's going to come together there. But let's see if we can get a little more specific in terms of how that rain will come together for us by the time it gets here. All right. We'll watch the Futurecast depiction bring in the leading edge of the showers to the North Bay on Wednesday morning early, and then kind of graze the rest of the bay, but it won't be much. Bottom line, plan on some rain Wednesday, but it won't be a lot. I'll show you numbers in a second. And then the next system comes in Friday, end of this week, Friday into Saturday. That one looks a little better, but still not super impressive. Probably does the same thing. We get grazed with a little bit of rain. Here's the Wednesday rainmaker. Maybe it's 1/10 of an inch of rain for most of us. And then we'll add on top of that the Friday into Saturday rainmaker, and maybe it's again another 1/4 of an inch of rain in the North Bay, and say, a little less than that generally everywhere else. It gets better after that in the longer range forecast. So we just looked at the rain here for Friday and Saturday. When we start looking at next week, which by the way, there's a lot going on next week as we get to the holiday week there as well, with Christmas coming on and the end of Hanukkah probably going through then as well. Could be rainy that week. And that's what we're going to be focusing on as we get closer to that in the coming days. But for right now, Wednesday is our first chance of rain.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
And welcome back. We begin this half hour in Rhode Island. Tonight, we learned the name of the person of interest that authorities took into custody in connection with the shooting at Brown University.
That name is Benjamin Erickson. He is a 24-year-old originally from Wisconsin. CBS's Tom Hansen has the latest.
Hundreds of first responders flooded the campus of Brown University this weekend, escorting students to safety and searching for a gunman.
This would be an active shooter situation.
2 people were killed and 9 others hospitalized after a shooter opened fire inside a classroom on the first floor of the university's engineering building in Providence, Rhode Island, Saturday afternoon.
We just heard 5 shots ring out.
Freshman Alex Mihailovich was in the building and fled with his classmates when they saw someone slumped over in the hallway.
Never thought I'd find myself in that situation. Yeah, pretty surreal.
Mihailovich escaped the building unharmed, but so did the shooter. Late Saturday, police released surveillance video showing a masked person on campus shortly after the shooting. Today, a person of interest was taken into custody. Cell phone data provided by the FBI led investigators to this hotel nearly 20 miles away, where they took 24-year-old Benjamin Erickson into custody. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News Erickson is not a student at Brown and had 2 weapons on him when police caught up. The country's latest mass shooting now sending a wave of fear through the Ivy League campus.
Of course, it was shocking and jarring, but it was terrifying, and it brought back all the same feelings of something I've already experienced.
This is the second school shooting 21-year-old Mia Tretta has experienced. The junior, who lives just steps away from last night's scene, was also struck by a bullet in a shooting at her California high school in 2019.
It must be reliving some of the trauma when this happened.
Exactly. I thought that we would be safe here, and we weren't. And I'm not entirely sure how we move on from this.
And at a press conference earlier today, the mayor said he met with at least one victim who told him that they had undergone active shooter training in high school. The victim ended up telling the mayor that that training helped them prepare for last night's active shooter.
In other news, 3 months after Charlie Kirk's assassination, his widow, Erica Kirk, joined CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss for a primetime town hall. She took audience questions, including one from Utah Valley student Hunter Kozak, the last person to speak with Kirk before he was shot. Kozak asked Erica about political leaders condemning violence and President Trump's recent comments accusing 6 Democratic lawmakers of sedition punishable by death.
Will you condemn the violent rhetoric of Donald Trump, the most powerful and influential person on earth?
You know my heart. Why would I ever say, yes, go murder people? This is so much deeper than just one. I understand your sentiment. I do. But this is also so much deeper than just one person.
Kirk also said that everyone has a responsibility to lower the temperature. You can watch the entire town hall streaming on Paramount+. Andrea?
Well, a San Francisco nonprofit is warning beneficiaries of the Affordable Care Act to be prepared for a rise in health care costs, as some will see rates go up to 114%. House Republicans are hoping to vote on a new health care plan. It was unveiled on Friday and will include an expansion on association health plans and will allow for a vote on an amendment to extend the expiring tax credits. Senator Bill Cassidy says that more needs to be done to make sure that Americans can pay their deductibles.
I would be willing to do a short-term extension of the premium tax credits for those people with higher premiums if they will concede that we've got to do something for the $6,000 out of pocket. I think there's a deal to be had here.
However, Senator Mark Warner says that paying Americans directly to help with their out-of-pocket costs isn't enough for people who can't afford health care.
A one-time $1,500 payment is not going to meet her needs, and particularly if that would mean that things like pre-existing condition protections would disappear.
The Rules Committee is expected to review the bill on Tuesday, and a vote can come later this week.
And coming up now, firefighting gear is now being blamed for increased cancer risk among firefighters. What the San Francisco Fire Department is doing to address that problem when we come back. And welcome back. Oakland is seeing some progress in its fight against gun violence, property, and violent crime, both down about 24% from last year. Still, the impact changes lives forever. Laureen Ayub has that story.
Sometimes the holidays have a way of amplifying the feelings we try hardest to quiet. A gathering for families affected by gun violence was recently hosted in Oakland by the Love Life Foundation. The event was created by founder Donald Lacey, who lost his own daughter to gun violence in '97.
The holidays are always a rough time for people like me who have lost their children, because Christmas was a very happy day for my daughter. She loved Christmas. So you feel that loss more than ever during the holidays. So this is a great way for people to come together, support each other, and love on each other, and to move forward as a united community.
With holiday gifts and a community meal, Oakland-based families were brought together to share their stories and lean on others who understand their pain.
We have a shared experience, and everybody grieves and goes through it different. You know, some days it's even hard to get out of the bed. Other days I feel inspired. So it's a way of us holding each other up. Because we have that shared experience, as well as helping each other move forward through the pain, and is equally, if not even more importantly, doing the work to help make Oakland better and safer for all of us.
Singer Saw Stewart shared her own painful memory of losing her husband to gun violence just 1 year ago.
You won't heal sharing with people who don't understand our pain, right? You can talk to people about your pain, but unless you've gone through it, you really don't have a true connection to what it feels like.
Reflecting on forgiveness and violence prevention moving forward, Donald's vision is to offer comfort to families during an especially sensitive time of year.
Pray and surround yourself with love. As you can feel in this room tonight, even though some of the stories of loss were horrific, there's a lot of love, a lot of unity, a lot of community. So surround yourself with love. Love on yourself and celebrate the life of your lost loved one.
A reminder that even in grief, there is space for growth, healing, and hope.
Firefighters face many risks on the job, including a higher chance of getting cancer. About 65% of firefighters will be diagnosed with some form of cancer. That's according to the San Francisco Firefighters Cancer Prevention Foundation. While smoke inhalation is a big concern, researchers are also pointing at their gear that could be contributing to the increased risks. Now, the San Francisco Fire Department is switching to equipment that's safer for their crews. Suji Nam has more.
The glory wall here. I've got my space here in the house where I can put up a few things from memorabilia from when I was on the job.
Tony Stefani reflects on his nearly 3 decades of service with the San Francisco Fire Department.
It's a picture of my crew, and you got my backside there.
He was a captain at Fire Station Rescue 1, known as the Alley Cats back in the day.
I am right here.
But in 2003, Stefani made the difficult decision to cut his career short. He was diagnosed with cancer, transitional cell carcinoma, and remembers this conversation with his doctor.
If I worked in the chemical industry, I told him no, that I was a firefighter here in the city. And he told me that, well, I hate to tell you, but you do work in the chemical industry, and this is probably an accumulation of the toxins that you've ingested and inhaled for the last 27 years on the job.
Stefani and his colleagues discovered that their turnout gear, which contains a water-resistant chemical known as PFAS, more commonly known as forever chemicals, has been exposing them to carcinogens in the field.
There was multiple times when I was exposed to these chemicals that we did not know anything about at that time.
But now, the San Francisco Fire Department is paving the way.
State-of-the-art personal protective equipment.
Fire Captain John Ayers says every one of their firefighters will be receiving non-PFAS equipment as soon as possible.
Our pores are open and subject to materials that could be passing through the turnouts. And by having PFAS-free materials, like in our moisture barrier and on the outer shell, it'll prevent toxins from entering our bodies.
The department will be the first in the Bay Area to use equipment without forever chemicals.
I'm one of 1,500 firefighters here in the city and county of San Francisco, and if we can be trend-setting to make sure all firefighters are in safer gear, that's a good win for all of us in the fire service.
After retiring, Stefani founded the San Francisco Firefighters Cancer Prevention Foundation, providing medical and financial resources for firefighters statewide.
Knowing what I know now about the toxic exposures on the job, I would have definitely have taken better care of myself at a working fire. And the culture was a lot different then too. It was who's going to stay in the longest and who's the toughest.
Stefani is cancer-free and says he will keep the fight not just for himself, but for his fellow brothers and sisters in uniform.
Coming up in the forecast, why has it been so cold for so long? We're going to talk about this pattern that we're locked in. You're looking at the last 2 weeks of satellite imagery, one snapshot every day. It is a constant, permanent fixture on there. The Thule fog staying in the valley is now ticking over into early December here. It's going to be around for the next few days, too. This thing does not want to give up. But there are signs that the forecast is going to start changing by the middle of the week. Rain actually coming back. You got to start somewhere. It won't be a lot, but it is the start of more. We'll look at all this coming up after the break. Well, since we're apparently stuck with this pattern, have been for 3 weeks and will be for a couple more days, it's worth at least taking a look at the nature of what we're stuck with, the cold air, the cloudiness. You see the Thule fog there from today's satellite filling in the Central Valley? Let's take a look at the monitor now, because when you look up there, go all the way back to November 22nd and take a satellite image every day, which is what we're looking at here. It's kind of ticking forward there. You're looking at 3 weeks of satellite image of us, and the pattern maintained. The Thule fog filled the valley every day and then, of course, crept into the bay and started cooling our temperatures down. This is the reason why it has felt so cold. We never got hit with a winter storm. There was never a cold front that came through here. We didn't import cold air from somewhere else. We've been living under a blanket of dampness that is keeping the sun out. And when you look at the temperature profile for California, this goes back over the last 2 weeks, and it's showing you the temperature anomaly. How far above or below average have we been for those 2 weeks? Well, look at the Central Valley, well below 10 degrees below average. Look at the rest of the state, 10 degrees above average. It's a really odd pattern in that way. That's one of the things that's driving the fog, but what we're really seeing here is the influence the fog is having on the temperatures. It's the other way around, fog first, and then the temperatures look like that. How did we get stuck with this? If we want to know why we got stuck with 3 weeks of Thule fog, we actually have to go back to just before 3 weeks ago. You probably forgot this, but it was quite rainy in California as a whole over the course of early November. And if you look at the last 30 days of rainfall on here, these are places throughout the state, shaded in blue, that are several inches, like on the order of inches above average. And that's kind of impressive. But if you look at the percentage, now it really stands out. From the Central Valley all the way down south, we've picked up about 150% of average rainfall. We forget it. We didn't get hit with it hard in the Bay, but it was major for Central and Southern California. So we put all of this water in the landscape, and then it went dry. High pressure set up, started blocking everything in, and that allowed all that dampness in the ground to start turning into fog at night. Let's go back to the virtual map. It was really the combination of these two things that worked against us. Let me show you what we're going to do tonight, because we're about to repeat this pattern. We'll say goodbye to the clouds for a moment, and we're just going to take a look at what the temperature profile is going to look like for tomorrow morning. You'll have the same amount of low clouds again tomorrow. We've got one more day like this. But when you look at where we'll be for morning lows, temperatures will go back down into the mid-50s again for morning lows. And when we look at the daytime highs, it doesn't really change a whole lot either. Here's a 7-day forecast. It is going to change by Wednesday. So tomorrow and Tuesday, pretty much just like this. But by Wednesday, we get a weak little cold front that breaks up all that heavy cold air sitting in the valley, clears it out a bit. And then it also gives us some light rain. Not much, maybe about 1/4 of an inch of rain in the North Bay, about 1/10 of an inch of rain for everybody else. And then there could be more rain coming after that by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. All right, Andrea, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Darren. A special visitor is making his way around the stations, fire stations in East Bay. Santa Claus helped spread the holiday cheer with firefighters in San Leandro. Families got to take a picture with Saint Nick, bring gifts and donations for local charities, and even enjoy some cookies. Santa's last stop is at Station 28 in Newark next Saturday, December 20th. Well, in San Jose, a group of high school student athletes are using their love of running to help raise money for residents in Silicon Valley facing hunger. Our Max Darrow introduces us to the students behind Step for Smiles.
So here's a pretty startling statistic for you. 1 in 4 kids in Silicon Valley are at risk of becoming food insecure. But there are kids in our community doing their part to help, like Dylan and Dylan from Bellarmine College Prep. You guys, how good does it feel to make a difference with almost $35,000 to Silicon Valley's Second Harvest?
It feels really good. We just wanted to come out here and make a difference. We see the food insecurities happening, especially on our runs in Guadalupe Trail, and so we kind of see firsthand what it is like for these people.
And Dylan, what went into raising all this money?
So we had a group of volunteers where we all come together as our cross-country team, and we just looked to hold this race, and it was a lot of group efforts on reaching out to different people and just trying to gather as much people from the community as we can get to help support our cause.
Well, you guys are making a big difference. Let's bring in Shobana Gooby now from Second Harvest. Shobana, kids making a difference for other kids and people struggling in our community, that's got to hit home for you.
Absolutely. I'm just blown away by what the two Dylans and their cross-country team has done. My goodness, future leaders right here.
Well, Dylans, thank you for what you guys do, and thank you to your cross-country team and everybody helping out. And if you'd like to help out as well, head to our website, kpix.com/give, or scan the QR code on your screen.
Well, this week, San Francisco is set to honor a legendary photographer, the late Jim Marshall, by officially commemorating a street in his honor.
You may not know Jim Marshall by name, but you sure know his work. He has photographed some of the legendary artists of the 20th century. Between Noe and Castro in San Francisco, you'll find a short block of 16th Street. On Friday, that tiny stretch becomes a big landmark for music lovers, historians, and photography buffs. It'll also become known as Jim Marshall Way.
Finally, Jim Marshall gets his name in San Francisco history because Jim Marshall documented and photographed history and provided the imagery for everybody to know and love.
Including this rare photograph of Janis Joplin on top of her psychedelic Porsche, a famous portrait of John Coltrane sitting in Berkeley, Johnny Cash and June Carter at their home in Tennessee, Miles Davis in the boxing ring, Bob Dylan playfully kicking a tire down a New York street, and the final concert played by the Beatles at Candlestick Park. Amelia Davis knew Jim. 15 years ago, when he died, the San Franciscan left his entire portfolio to her. Jim called his photographs his children.
That's what he loved and protected his whole life.
Jim was on hand to capture the Dead's last free show on a flatbed truck in the Haight. He was also on hand to capture the grief following the assassination of President John Kennedy. His photographs of poverty in Appalachia are part of the permanent collection at the Smithsonian.
Jim Marshall always called himself a reporter with a camera, and Jim's work did document pieces of history, whether it was music, civil rights, or protests.
I've always liked cars, guns, and cameras. Cars and guns have got me in trouble. Cameras haven't.
Jim had a tumultuous personality and struggled with addiction. After his death, he was the subject of an award-winning documentary called Show Me the Picture. He was the first photographer to get a Grammy Award. And now a street where Jim lived for 28 years will be named in his honor.
You had this legend living right in the middle of the street here.
Justin Feichelson grew up a few doors away from Jim, where his parents still live. He says the honor of renaming the street is a reminder that the city was iconoclastic before tech and AI.
The idea of San Francisco, which is this crazy place where people come from all around the world to reinvent themselves, Jim really captured that in an incredible way.
Jim grew up in the Western Addition, went to Lowell High School, raced fast cars, and loved San Francisco. And now, San Francisco is loving him back. Ceremony begins Friday at 10 in the morning, where Jim Marshall Way will be placed under the 16th Street sign at the corner of Market, Noe, and 16th.
And if you have an old Leica camera, bring it in tribute.
Not many of those around.
Yeah, I don't have one for sure.
But if you do. Thanks for watching. 60 Minutes is next, and we'll see you back here at 11.
Until then, the news continues streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Good night.